we are talking to Paul Michael Glaser. How are you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Wonderful. So, a bit of background about yourself. Most people in the UK probably know you for being Starsky from Starsky and Hutch.
This is true.
Now, you went to Tulane University with Bruce Paltrow.
Oh yeah, gee whiz, that's the name.
And you were roommates?
Yeah.
So, was he an influence into you getting into the TV and film business?
Well, he and I were the only, so interesting that you ask about him. He was the only student who was taking fine arts at Sophie Newcomb, which is the sister college, that's now part of Tulane. And I was in the theater department, so we were kind of the two artists, if you will, and we'd share notes and things, and he'd show me his drawings, and I'd tell him about what I was doing.
So how did you end up getting into the industry?
That's a good question. My mother was a big proponent of the arts. She really loved the arts, exposed us to a lot of theater, a lot of music, and art. And then one of my two older sisters was into theaters, and I think that might have had some influence.
So what can you remember was your first project where you thought, wow, this is what I really want to do?
I played Cain in a production of Back to Methuselah at the Tufts Arena Theater in Medford, Massachusetts. Tufts University was the summer theater. And my parents came to see it with dread, and everybody was very polite.
Nice. Now you ended up acting, writing, producing, directing.
Yeah.
You've worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Diane Keaton, Shaquille O'Neal. What was it like working with them?
I think that from my point of view, I just like to be as professional as possible, and different people have different affinities. I think that once we're in the working place, it's about the work, and that's all it's about. So I never had a problem. I dealt with whatever I dealt with just by doing the job.
Did you cast Schwarzenegger in The Running Man?
No, actually, I was asked to direct that film, and I just come off my first feature, and I'd asked to direct it, and they didn't have enough time, I didn't feel, to prepare the film, and so I passed on it, and they hired Andy Davis to direct it, who was a friend of Arnold's. And then 2 weeks into production, they were a week behind, so a head had to roll, and it was Andy's, so they came back to me, and I said, well, how long were you shut down for? And they said, 2 days, the weekend, so I did it. I took the job, and that was that. I took it over.
So, are you still in touch with your partner in crime, David Soul?
Yes, I am.
And have you been rehearsing together on the songs?
Well, he's had a fair amount of experience singing. Absolutely. No, we haven't.
No.
We did not do that.
When Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson reprised the role of Starsky and Hutch in the movie, how did you feel about that? What was your opinion?
Well, whenever you've done something that becomes iconic, you can't help but to be a little proud, and it's a compliment that they did it. I mean, there was no way in China they were going to be able to recreate the 70s. I know Ben and Owen wanted to do they wanted to capture more of the emotional relationship between the two, but they were working with a comedy director who was probably uncomfortable with that, and so they did more of a spoof,
right.
Tongue-in-cheek.
So, what's been a favourite project you've ever worked on?
The favorite project is always the project I am working on, which is Fiddler. I'm having a great time.
And it's pretty much come around full circle for you, hasn't it? Because that was one of your first film breaks.
Yeah, I suppose so. I guess you can call it a circle if you're looking back. You know, I always wondered whether you know you were making a circle at the beginning.
With a few bends in the way. So, have you found it very different going from you were Perchek before, correct, to Tevier? Is it very different working for the stage adaptation as opposed to film?
Well, stage is the actor's medium. The curtain goes up, it's you and the audience, and your relationship. And film is very much a director's medium. So it is different. It's interesting because when you act for the camera, it's a much more intimate experience in terms of the size of your performance, or it's a quieter thing. Although when you're in the theater and you're relating to the audience, it's a far more intimate, emotional experience. So it's interesting. There is a technique for film acting. I'm not, I really enjoy being on the stage. I enjoy telling a story to the audience and myself, sharing a story with the audience. I think that's really a lovely experience.
And would you say there's just as much rehearsal time goes into it?
Depends on the project. You don't rehearse that much for film. I think that, really, some directors like Francis Coppola is an ardent believer, and I think it's fantastic if they can work it into the budget, because, to have a long rehearsal or a longer rehearsal period, oftentimes it's a matter of, a few days or a week or something like that to get acclimated to each other. But I think by and large the rehearsal period for theater is longer, because once you open, the baby is up and walking. It's like you can't say, wait a second, well I want to put another different leg on it, or,
Yeah. Now this is obviously a 7-month tour that you're doing. How is it actually going on tour and seeing the UK and all the different towns?
Well, I must have lived here another life or lives, because I have an affinity for it. I've always felt very comfortable over here. I'm getting to see places I had not seen, and that's cool. You don't get to see a lot of the place, because you come into a town, you have a day or two days to acclimate, and then you start in again. And once you start in, I'm not in my 20s, so I don't go out till 2 in the morning and get up at 10 and run around. So I don't get to see as much as I'd like, but it's a pleasure meeting the people, and it's a positive experience, that's for sure.
What's it like working with Craig Revel Horwood?
Well, Craig's an extremely creative person, and he was a delight. I enjoyed watching him work. I enjoyed working with him. I enjoyed his vision, the way he put it together, the choices that he made, and the direction he gave me. I mean, he was all around lovely guy.